everyone, I'm Haley. This is Bitter Kitten Crafts. This is my cat Boo, and today I'm so excited to share with you everything I made in 2023. So I made a bunch of stuff in 2023. I also frogged so many old things in 2023, which was so freeing and so awesome, such a good feeling. And I used some yarn that had been in my stash for like literally 8 years. I've been knitting and crocheting pretty much my whole life. So I have a lot of yarn from just like general accumulation of yarn and projects. And it felt really good to use some of it up. So I'm gonna do it kind of in categories. I'm only gonna talk about stuff that I feel is exciting. Like, you know, I made a bunch of gift hats and they were just like ribbed 2x2 ribbed hats. So like, I don't really feel like, hey, excuse me, no biting please. I don't really feel like it's like worth showing here because I don't want this video to drag on. So I'm mostly gonna focus on garments and 1 or 2 other accessories. That being said, I'm also going to talk about like my least and most worn sweaters, and I am going to try everything on for you, which is why I'm dressed like this as we kind of go. Let's start with shawls, just because I only made 2 of them and one of them is incredibly itchy. So we're going to start with the one that I actually can wear. Please don't bite me. Nope. So let's start with the actual shawl that I can wear, that I do wear. This is my last FO of 2023, and it's actually one of my favorites, even though I haven't gotten a ton of chances to wear it yet. It's this huge brown shawl. So I want to preface this by saying I'm like not a beige girly. I actually hate beige. I hate grayish. I really don't like the trend of everybody knitting in like grayish and beige because it really just like brings down my vibe. Like my neutrals are chartreuse and plum and like really rich jewel tones, and my basics are not usually beige. So this is like the one beige / brown thing I've ever knitted and probably will ever knit. That being said, I love the yarn. This yarn was in my stash since 2016. So this is Lana Gatto Class, which is an 80% merino wool, 20% Angora blend. It was the first time I've ever used Angora yarn. My cat loves this project. I think it's because of the Angora. She like really likes to sleep on it. So it is like looking a little bit like a cat slept on it, you know, but like what can you do? I really enjoyed knitting this project. I knitted on size 10.5 needles. If you guys are familiar with like the Sophie shawl and Sophie scarf pattern by Petite Knit, this is a really good free pattern that's basically the same thing. It's just that you increase, and so I increased with 100 grams of yarn and then I decreased with 100 grams of yarn. And I didn't really have to think about anything else besides just, you know, following the 2-row repeat. So that was really nice. I can't recommend this pattern enough. I can recommend, yeah, I don't know what that's, there's like stuff on it. I don't recommend letting your cat sleep on your projects because they end up like crusty a little, but you know what? I love my cat, so it's okay. But yeah, this is a simple thing by Melina Brell. The pattern ended up huge, but you can knit. I knit a gift for my mom for Christmas, and I knit her like a little fingering weight little baby one, and she loves it. So I really recommend this pattern. Like I said, it's free, and this yarn was really nice to knit with. When I purchased this yarn, I bought it on sale from a yarn store that no longer sadly exists in Bethesda, Maryland, but it was $8 a ball then. I looked it up, now it's like $11 to $13. So this would be like around, like for me it was a $32 project. Now it would probably be like around a $50 project. I would say well worth it with the Angora. It's so soft. I really like this. So this is my last FO of 2023, but definitely going to be one of my most worn in 2024, despite the beige. So the only other shawl I knit this year is called the Be Simple Variations shawl. And I'll put the name down below because I don't remember who designed it. This is knit in alpaca yarn that I purchased in Cape Cod on summer vacation. I was lucky to stay in Cape Cod for a week this summer with my fiance's family, and it was really nice, and I love Cape Cod, so I wanted to bring home some yarn from local alpacas, and I did, and I knit with it, and I mean, I think you can see it on camera. It's like itchy. It's like visibly, there's like little hairs coming off of it. This is not a wearable piece, sadly. It is so itchy. It is so itchy. It's beautiful, and I will be knitting this pattern again, absolutely. I knit this on size 10.5 needles. My hope was that if I used a loose gauge, it would kind of like alleviate some of the itchy pokiness. Didn't work at all. I ended up blocking this twice just to get it even to have a little bit of drape because it had a lot of spinning oil in it. It is like a locally produced yarn, so it's really cool to have as kind of a memento of my trip. Maybe I'll try to block it a third time. I've heard that Dawn dish soap can help, but as of now, this is sadly not a wearable piece, which is something I'm really trying to get away from in 2024. I really want to try so hard to knit only things that I will wear and will use every day. I love the eyelets in this pattern. As I said, it's a free pattern, which like you can't go wrong. The intended gauge is much tighter. I did knit it at a loose gauge, but I think that I will be knitting it again in like the fingering weight single ply it's intended to be knitted in. And it should be also beautiful as well. Before we move on to sweaters, I have one more accessory that I'd like to show. This is a hat, but it's a lace hood. And I'm really happy with this one. I will try it on. This is by Veronika Lindberg, who has also a beautiful podcast and Instagram. It's Kotovakika, and she knit this really cute hood back in like almost a year ago from now. It's called the GrandmaCore hood, and I instantly fell in love with it. I feel like I kind of probably look like a little bit silly, but I loved knitting this. I want to knit another one in a dark color, so I have kind of one that more matches my black jacket. But this is, I love it. It's a really cool construction. You start with like a square at the top, and then you pick up stitches all the way around and knit this lace motif down until the proper length, and then you do a little folded cuff here for the front. That was the first time I've ever done that. The yarn that I used is Olann Fiber Mills Suri, which sadly they are no longer hand dyeing yarn, but look at these beautiful colors. I think you can see them, like all the little rainbow flecks against the white. It's so cute. This is one of the first times I used Suri, and I was so happy with, like, you can see like the drape of this project is amazing. And the white yarn is just like an undyed merino cone that I got at Maryland Alpaca Festival. This project is one that I kind of was like skeptical if I would really wear it because it's like kind of, you know, silly looking, but I really did end up wearing it. I wore it to Vogue Knitting when I went in the winter last year, and that was really fun. People seem to like it. So I think I will knit another, maybe like a dark green. So let's start with my sweaters, which I know that's like why everyone's here. I'm gonna start with my least worn sweater just because I kind of want to get it out of the way. I think I'm probably gonna ultimately end up frogging this sweater if I can get another skein of yellow. So this is the Bubble V crop by Jessie Maed. It's knit in the Scranton stitcher, who is my friend. She dyed this beautiful yellow. Hello, boo. It's called Good Kuchi Kopi, which is from the Bob's Burgers collection. If you guys watch Bob's Burgers, you know that's the little like toy that Louise carries everywhere with her. And then this is a junk yarn color that I got at my local yarn store, Looped, in DC. And I love the design of this sweater. I have knit one before. It's much more generously sized. I think I both went up a needle size and a garment size. Hello. For the other one I made. So this one, I was like cutting it close on yarn. I didn't have a lot of yarn, but I really wanted to make a neon yellow sweater. And this is what I came up with. I believe I will frog this. It doesn't fit how I wanted to. I used every single inch of the yellow yarn, and it's still, you know, the sleeves are too short. The body's certainly too short. It's not like a flattering fit particularly. So I really do plan to give this yarn a new life and a better home. This is one of only 2 sweaters I knit this year that like I would consider like flops. Obviously it turned out really cute, like the cuffs are really cute with these stripes, but it's just not fitting how I want. And I don't want to hold on to things that don't fit me. I want to use the yarn maybe at a looser gauge and knit maybe the same exact sweater again, maybe a different sweater, but I definitely love this yellow by the Scranton Stitcher, and I will plan to reuse it. This is like, it's tough to frog things that are objectively cute like this. This is like a cute sweater. It just really is not filling the hole in my wardrobe that I hoped it would in knitting a neon yellow sweater, because it is kind of a statement piece, and people are going to be looking at you in your neon yellow sweater. You like want to look your best, you know? And I feel like this neon yellow sweater does not make me look my best. My cat is attacking my other cat. This is a bottom-up sweater. And I love the construction of knitting the front panels because you knit these flat and then you attach the back of the shoulders with 3 needle bind off. And it's very straightforward, very simple. The only thing is, what I realized with bottom up sweaters, which may be like an obvious statement, is that you need to have like more than enough yarn. You need to like not be concerned. You need to have like plenty of yarn, because with this one, I just like really didn't have enough yarn. And 3 skeins of DK, like I should have known. I should have known this wasn't enough yarn, but okay, moving on from this one. This one is like the one flop of the year, which everyone's allowed to have a flop, right? So let's talk about my other kind of sort of flop. So this is the Big Rib by Jessie Maed. This is a pattern that I saw photos of it. I was like, I have to knit that. It's so cute. And I had just finished the hood I just showed you with the Suri and the cone held double. And I knew that I had enough of the mohair cone or the undyed cone left to hold with more Suri. And I had these 2 skeins of Suri in my stash and I was like, perfect, let's go. And I knit this in like a week. And then that was in February. I like never wore it one single time. So the reasoning for that, I believe, is because, again, the fit is smaller than I would have liked. So I went down a needle size from the pattern, which I like shouldn't have done that. This is supposed to be knit on size 10s. I knit it on size 9s. I believe that if I had knit it on size 10s, I still would have had enough yarn. I was like concerned I wouldn't have enough of the blue Suri, which I'm not sure how it's showing in this light. It is blue. It is so soft. It has these little blips of pink that I think you can kind of see. I would knit this again. I'm actually planning to knit this again with like single ply held double. I think part of the problem with this one is that the undyed cone yarn is like a very, very lofty spun yarn. It has so much air in it that this sweater doesn't have the right drape as Jessie's does in her pattern photos and in like the intended ease of the garment, where this one just kind of like clings and it doesn't really drape and it doesn't have any weight to it to kind of weigh down the ribbing. The ribbing always cinches back up. Like you can see when I take it off, like on the arms are like little tubes. So I've been considering 2 options for this one. One is to reblock it, like really aggressively, let it soak for a long time, see what happens. The other is to frog it. I would kind of hate to frog this. Frogging Suri is like a bitch, like we all know that. But I don't think I have another option unless it blocks out really big. I would love to own this sweater. This is like such a cute little like after ski moment. Not that I ski, like who am I? No, not that I ski, but I would love to own this sweater in a bigger size. So I will re-knit it. Like I said, I have plans to knit it in purple, like in 2024 using some of my stash, but I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have started with my flops. Maybe I should have started with my good sweaters, but I think it's important to not glaze over like flops in terms of knitting. And I have only positive things to say about this designer. I've knit a lot of her patterns. It's just a coincidence that 2 of the things that I made that were like flops this year were both by her. It's all due to my own needle sizing and my own gauge and my own fault and my own kind of poor yarn choice in this example. It has nothing to do with Jessie's patterns. As you'll see, I've knit more than enough of her other designs and I love her patterns. So this is like nothing against Jessie or her patterns at all. It's just like pure poor decision making on my part. Let's move on to things I actually wore and knit in 2023. This is my one petite knit design of the year. I really don't like knitting her designs unless I can't find something better. But this is the holiday slipover. This is the 4th time I've tried to knit this pattern. The first time I've done it successfully. The yarn that I used is all, so I used to work for an indie dyer up in Maryland. I didn't really have like the greatest experience working for them, but I did accumulate a lot of their bulky weight, especially yarn. This was back in 2018. If any of you know any yarn dyers based in Frederick, you probably know who I'm talking about. But anyway, I ended up with a lot of their yarn, which is beautiful. And I never did anything with it because it was like single skeins of bulky weight. And so after making hats for everybody I knew, I kind of didn't know what to do with anymore. And so I made this, and this is knit on size 13 needles. I knit the size medium because I did change the gauge a little bit to make it bigger because the bulky weight's really heavy. And here in DC, like it honestly doesn't get that cold. Like we haven't hit freezing yet here in DC and it's the first week of January. So that's like sort of alarming, but beside the point, this garment I really love. I actually am shocked by how much I wear and love this sweater. Boo, please don't eat that. I'm completely and totally surprised about how much I love wearing this pattern. I am somebody who wears leggings out of the house like quite often, to be honest, especially as a nanny. And so this garment really spruces up like a long sleeve t-shirt and black leggings type of outfit into like a nice outfit, which I love. However, I can't in like good faith recommend knitting this like monetary budget wise. If I had purchased this yarn like at market value from an indie dyer, this would be a $120 project because it's like 4 skeins of bulky weight yarn. Obviously that's like obscene for like what this is, which is like just a little vest. But given the circumstances I was in where I had the resources, or if you have bulky weight scraps, or you have, you know, I've seen a lot of people use like Lion Brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick for this project, or like another acrylic blend or acrylic yarn. That would be a great choice for this because otherwise it's not exactly the most accessible thing to be knitting. I made 4 Cozy Classic Lights in 2023, which means that I have banned myself from knitting them in 2024. This is a pattern by Jessie Maed. I've already shown a couple of her patterns. I'm going to show a couple more of them. I mean, as you can probably tell, she's one of my favorite designers. I love the simplicity and straightforwardness of her patterns, and the Cozy Classic Light is a pattern I literally keep going back to like over and over because it's so cathartic and comforting. And like I said, like 2023 was a big year for transitions for me. It's just like been a really weird year, to be honest. It was my first year ever being completely sober, which was also like, you know, just a tough transition. It was a very transitionary year. So with that in mind, I knit a lot of patterns that were like very comforting, and I knit them over and over. So hence 4 Cozy Classic Lights. I said hence, I don't know why. Anyways, this yarn is Knitting for Olive Merino, the fingering weight, the really fine version in pomegranate. And then the ribbing and the stripe and the cuffs are a Zauberball, which I loved knitting with the Zauberball. It was so fun. The color transitions are so much faster than Spin Cycle. I mean, I think you can tell, like the collar has 3 colors in it and it's only 10 rows. So that was so fun. I don't think it's a great substitute for Spin Cycle only because it is superwash, 1, and 2, it's so fine. This sweater took me 3 months because the yarn for both the Knitting for Olive and the Zauberball was like some of the thinnest yarn I've ever worked with. And it was a slog, especially like here. I got to like here and I tried it on and I was like, oh, I'm close, I'm almost done. And then yeah, I tried it on and I was like, oh God, like this like only comes to here. So that's like simply not gonna work. However, I will never stop knitting this pattern. Like I said, I've like kind of like lightly banned myself from knitting it in 2024. That doesn't mean I won't knit it, if we're honest. It really doesn't. I am gonna show 2 more of this pattern, which like, what can you do? You know what I mean? I'm not gonna stop knitting it. But this yarn is so soft. I wore this like a medium amount. I finished it in August and it was really hot, and then I wore it in like October and November a little bit, but now it's like too cold to wear it because it is very fine and lightweight. Like look at the drape on this garment. This is a lovely garment. I don't think I'd use the Knitting for Olive Merino again, only because it is so fine. It did hurt my hands. It did kind of, I had like a knitting hiatus for a couple months where like I still knit some stuff, but I was mostly focused on painting and submitting art to shows, which actually went really well. I'll talk about that at the end. But this was kind of in the middle of that hiatus, which is part of the reason it took 3 months. And it just was like a slog. But the collar is so good. The drape is so good. I have a friend who's used the heavy merino and they really liked it. So I think that if I were to use this brand again, I would go for either like the cotton merino blend I've seen people use or the heavy merino. Let's go ahead and talk about my 2 summer knits. This is another Jessie Maed pattern, which like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That's a theme here. This is the Ripple Crop Top by Jessie Maed. This is knit in Noro Mirai yarn in color number 2. This project is also bought at the same time as I bought the Lana Gatto, the Angora yarn. So this project was $26, which is awesome. And this is also yarn that I bought, like I said, in like 2016. So like deep stash yarn. I was really happy to use up 3 balls of it in this project. And this is like a silk, rayon, viscose, cotton, kind of like a weird blend of yarn. But the drape is awesome. I knit this on a trip to Florida at the very beginning of the year with my parents, and I got to wear it on the beach, which was awesome, which was like the perfect time to finish this project. I then also brought it on my trip to the beach in August, the local beaches here in Delaware, and I brought it to Cape Cod. So this summer knit got a lot of wear. It was like perfect for the beach. It's really drapey. The colors are awesome. I did do some like intentional kind of snipping to get the colors different on each front panel. This is another bottom up pattern, and this is an example where like it fits great, the drape is awesome, and it's only because I was not worried at all about running out of yarn. I actually still have like about 50 grams left. I wasn't worried about adding length because it is like a cropped summer cotton blend yarn. I'll try it on and show you. So it is like, for me, it's not low cut. For some people, this would be low cut. You can modify like the depth of the V-neck by changing the front panel lengths. I really like how this fits, especially, you know, on the beach and stuff. It's really, I feel like, a flattering garment, and I like to knit one. I have like a plain white cotton, and I'd really like to knit one in that as well. This is, I think, the size 4, maybe the size 5. But this is intended to be a fingering weight pattern. This yarn is definitely more of like a sport. So I knit it at a really loose gauge, and I think I went up maybe 2 needle sizes. So I probably knit the size 4 and I went up a couple needle sizes. But I love knitting with Noro. I think that's like a pretty common opinion based on like what I've seen on other people's YouTube channels. Noro seems to be awesome in every type. And I'd really like to get more of it into my stash and knit with a wool blend of Noro. That won't be in 2024 because I'm trying to only knit for my stash in 2024, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, this is certainly one of my absolute most worn projects of 2024. Now we're getting into the ones that I only have, I think, 5 left. And all the ones that are going to be shown going forward are like, I wore them like to death. In the summer, I wore this at least every week. You can't really tell. Like it's worn really nicely. So that's awesome. This might as well be like a Jessie Maed sponsored video because I have another Jessie Maed pattern to show you as my other summer knit of 2023. So I actually knit 2 identical tanks like this. I can't find the second one. I think it might be, it's like somewhere in all my clothes because I wear it so much that I like keep it with the rest of my clothes. I'll put a picture of it though. This is the summer, My Little Secret Crop by Jessie Maed. This is another really simple little, obviously ribbed 3x3 tank. It is her free pattern from like the beginning of COVID. So I've knit this pattern like 4 or 5 times, including 2 identical ones this summer. So it's knit from the bottom up, and then it's just like a little front panel and just a little tank with like I-cord straps. And I love this. This yarn is K&C Element, so it's like a cotton nylon blend from Joann, and it is completely machine washable, which is why I knit 2 identical ones, because one of the other ones I made is like alpaca, so it's not like an everyday garment. This is something I wore, like I said about the other one, like all summer at the beach, all, you know, every time I went out basically to like a concert or something this summer, I wore one of these with linen pants, and it was so cute. I think I put a picture probably already of the other one. It's like purple and blue, but this yarn, it was $3 a skein. Sadly, it's been discontinued. I can't recommend like this yarn enough. A comparable yarn I would say would be like the Michaels brand Loops and Threads Cotton Cream, which is also a nylon cotton blend, and I do have some of that in my stash to knit a bright orange one of these as well. This is the most machine washable garment I've ever knitted, which it was like terrifying putting it in there at first because cotton can pill and get gross, but like, I mean, this thing has been worn probably 40 times, And I mean, it's like a little fuzzy, but you know, it's not looking bad. This project was $9 total maybe. And this white is the cotton that I have to knit my other ripple crop top that I plan to knit. So DC climate is tough. It's humid, it's hot, it's repulsive, it's disgusting. And so I am trying to be more conscious of that in my 2024 knitting and knit like a handful of summer garments, not just 2 or 3 little tanks and tees. I want to have like plenty of options to wear so that I can kind of offload some of my other ready-to-wear tanks that have seen better days and really focus on having like as much of a knitted wardrobe as possible. So these tanks are a great start to that. If you have this yarn in your stash, use it to make this. This is a great pattern for this yarn. We still have 5 left. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. The last 5 are, in my personal opinion, like easily the best 5, and my summer knits too. So I have like a lot of things I'm proud of this year and a lot of things I actually wore, which again is like really exciting, especially if you watch some of my older videos. There's a lot of FOs that I made, like especially in like pandemic, like peak 2020 pandemic times, where I was knitting it because it was cool on Instagram and not because I found a place for it in my wardrobe or I thought I really would use it or wear it. And now I've really transitioned to knitting things that like I want and I want to wear, and it feels so good to be able to wear stuff that I've made on like a daily and weekly basis. So with that being said, I'm gonna show my last 5 FOs, which are easily my most worn of the year. If you recognize this pattern, you are correct. This is the Cozy Classic Light by Jessie Maed. This is my Christmas sweater from 2023. I'm showing this one now, even though it's not in my most worn like numerically, because I just finished it. I'm so excited about it and I wore it like to death in December. I really milked this sweater just because I like wanted to get as much wear of it out of it as I could. I cast it on November 1st and I finished it like December 10th. So it was a really fast knit for me. 5 weeks is kind of an obscenely short amount of time to finish a fingering weight sweater. So usually when that happens for me, that's like a sign that I need to check out something about my mental health. And yeah, 2023 was a very transitionary time. My living situation transitioned, and as a result of that, I knit this sweater in 5 weeks. It's beautiful. The yarn is, this pink is an awesome color from Wool and Vinyl called Pink Peppermint. It's from the Christmas 2022 box from Knitting is Metal, which is a really cool company based in Columbus, Ohio, that did like Christmas boxes with like 1 skein of yarn and then a bunch of accessories. And this was the yarn I got, and I waited an entire year to base my whole sweater just around this yarn. I'm so happy I did. I think if you follow me on Instagram or you've watched any of my recent YouTube videos, you've already seen this sweater, so I'm not going to talk too long about it, but I'm excited to have like a Christmas sweater going forward. You know, next year I won't have to knit anything and I'll already have a Christmas sweater, so that's like pretty cool. Let's go ahead and talk about my last Cozy Classic Light. This is definitely my most worn Cozy Classic Light of the year. I have knit 7 of them. So this is like my second most worn behind one that I knit last year, which is white with rainbow speckles. This yarn is also from the yarn company I used to work for. So this is a cashmere merino nylon blend. This is something where, again, knitting with this yarn would be wildly out of my price point if it wasn't for the fact that I got it for free. I love this color. I am not really, I mean, I think you've seen, like I don't knit that many things in neutrals. And so this color to me is one of the closest things to a neutral sweater I have in my stash of sweaters. It is so rich. I wore this on my birthday. I wore it to an art show opening that I participated in. I've worn this sweater like at so many kind of nicer events that I've gone to this year, just because it is like just a little t-shirt, but it fits so beautifully. It is so flattering. It is just like a very visibly expensive sweater, and I love that. I'm not gonna lie. It makes me feel beautiful to wear this. So This is a size 3. The Christmas sweater I just tried on, that's a size 4. I went up a size with the Christmas sweater because I wanted it to be more like a casual kind of drapey vibe. The orange one I showed is also a size 4, but this one I really wanted like a fitted bust. It worked perfectly. So if anybody ever asks me what pattern they should knit, as a beginning knitter, as an intermediate knitter, as a board knitter, knit this sweater. Even if you have it on the background, like in the back burner of your other knits, it's such a wardrobe staple. It's gonna be tough not to knit one in 2024. Honestly, it really is. I might just cast on the scrappy one. I might. What can you do? 3 more. So I knit this sweater because I had a friend, a knitting friend, say to me, hey, you've knit too many Cozy Classic Lights, but you should knit a V-neck raglan. So I was like, okay, I can do that. I have 2 skeins of sock yarn in my stash. Like, no problem. I can knit essentially an identical sweater to the Cozy Classic Light, except it's a V-neck. And I would say this is, so now we're getting to my top 3 most worn garments of 2023. This is easily like 3rd, if not 2nd place. I wore this thing so much in the spring and the summer. This neon is so fun and cool. Every time I wear it out in public, people are like, whoa, that's cool. And I agree. This is junk yarn. And this color, this green, is Muse 2320, which is a store in Minnesota. This is their colorway Grasshopper. And this is the colorway Crystal Barbie. So I knit this right around the time that Barbie was like about to come out in like the late spring. Perfect choice. Absolute perfect choice for that. I wore it to the Barbie premiere. Obviously, you know, this sweater has had some great mileage and it's really been like an occasion sweater. I also personally find a V-neck like very, very flattering on my body, much more so than like a high crew neck. So I think that maybe instead of casting on a Cozy Classic Light, I will find a loophole and knit a second one of these. This is the Daily Pullover by Paula Periera for Purl Soho. And this is, I mean, to be honest, like essentially the same as the Cozy Classic Light. The instructions are super straightforward. It is literally just like a 2-stitch raglan t-shirt. You can knit it long sleeve too, but I don't think I would. Yeah, not much to say about this one other than that the color is like amazing. The ease is perfect. Like absolutely no notes or changes I would make. I didn't modify the pattern in any way. The only thing that I did do is that I knit the ribbing here very shallow, and that's only because in previous sweaters that I've knit where it's been a V-neck, where I've knit the ribbing here very high, it's caused the neck to kind of like creep up to my collarbone, which I really didn't want. I wanted this to be like a V-neck sweater. So I only knit, I think it's like 5 rows here, just because I wanted to keep my neck like as open as possible. Okay, the final 2. This is the Shifty by Andrea Mowry. I'm not gonna put this one on because it's really hot. This is knit in BC Garn Samia Melange in this dark eggplant aubergine color, and then the Spin Cycle scraps that I also got when I worked at the company up in Maryland. And then I had 1 full skein, and I also had some friends give me some Spin Cycle scraps. So if you're watching, thank you so much. That was very kind of you. It enabled me to complete this entire sweater, and I spent like $70 to knit this sweater. And the original pattern calls for completely knit in Spin Cycle, which would make this garment around $400 to knit. I think like you can probably tell I'm like trying really hard to be budget conscious about my knitting, especially considering the size of my stash. I don't really feel the need to spend like crazy amounts of yarn money, which is different from at one point in my life when I did do that. But this Samia Melange is my first non-superwash sweater. I would use this yarn again and again and again and again and again. I love knitting with it. It is $10 for a 50-gram skein. It's definitely more of a sport weight, which is true of the Spin Cycle as well. It knit up on, this is size 5 needles. It like really bloomed so beautifully. There's absolutely no gaps in my fabric at all, which if I were to knit like the superwash sock yarn on a size 5 needle, it'd be pretty holy. So I would say it definitely leans more towards a sport, but I would absolutely knit with this yarn again. I really hope to have an opportunity to knit a colorwork sweater with it. This is my first ever colorwork sweater. It is mosaic knitting. I think a lot of you are probably familiar with this pattern. It's not a new pattern. This took forever. I started it in February. I cast on with 2 of my friends. One of my friends, she finished promptly. She did like awesome. She like promptly finished her sweater. My other friend still hasn't finished hers, which makes me feel a little bit better about the fact that I finished this in October. So I would definitely knit this pattern again. Like I said, like definitely have to be kind of conscious, like budget wise, about what I could do to make the blips look beautiful, because in this project, you can see all my blips like change color, and there's all these different colors. The reason I have so many color changes that are so rapid is because I used scraps. I believe that if you were to use like 3 straight skeins, this is like the equivalent of 2 skeins of spin cycle and 3 skeins of fingering. If you were to use only spin cycle, the changes would be a lot more gradual, just because you wouldn't be using little bits and bobs. You'd be using like a slow changing yarn, which is beautiful. This is a size 4. I definitely have a lot of positive ease on this sweater. This is a really warm sweater. I feel that I probably could have gone down a needle size, but then my yarn would have been like Teflon. So I don't know. I've heard a lot of people talk about like yoke sweaters and how they fit. This is a yoke sweater. This is the first ever circular yoke sweater I've knit after knitting many raglan sweaters and being confident in the fit of a raglan sweater on my body. This is the first yoke sweater I've knit, and I'm just like not super confident about how it fits me and how this type of cut fits me. So I'm planning to knit another yoke sweater in 2024 just to kind of see like how much I like it. We made it to my last sweater. So this is the Coffee Bean Cardigan by Elizabeth Smith Knits. This is easily my most worn sweater of the year. I mean, I wear this thing so often. This color is glorious. For me and my personal wardrobe, it does kind of function as like a neutral or a basic color, which I know is certainly not true for everybody, but I am in love with this color. This is Knit Picks yarn. I got it in the big sale, I don't know, several years ago, but I think they still make this color. It's like the DK Alpaca weight, or Alpaca Merino blend yarn. And the buttons, I'll put like a picture of a close-up, but these are from like the 60s. They're acrylic buttons and they were purchased at Maryland Sheep and Wall. I did not knit buttonholes just because I knew that I wouldn't be knitting it or wearing it buttoned. This sweater also doesn't have short rows. This is a pattern that I purchased and knit in like 2019. And I was looking for a pattern to knit with this green yarn because I just really wanted to use it and have a sweater with it. And I found this pattern in my library and I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just cast it on. It fits really nicely, but like because there's no short rows, of course, you do have to pull it down in the back, which is like fine, you know. So just as like a brief summary of like my 2023, if you have a Letterboxd account, which is like the movie app. If you have a Letterboxd account, I'm gonna put my name here. Please follow me, add me as a friend. I recently started getting into that app thanks to one of my friends who's like a real movie buff, and it's been so fun to kind of see what other people are watching and up to. So please add me on Letterboxd. I only have literally 2 friends on it, so like please add me because it's so fun to track that stuff and see it. You can also find me on Ravelry and Instagram, and stay tuned for more YouTube videos in 2024. Follow me on Letterboxd, you know the spiel, and thank you so much for watching.